So let's have a discussion here, guys, on how MetaZoo can save their booster boxes. Now, I know they're probably sitting here right now going, we don't need saving. Our booster boxes are doing exactly what we intend them to do. But I don't agree. And the number one reason why I do not agree that that's the truth is because they want these boxes to sell at $140. And maybe they're selling enough of them that they're happy with it. But we see these boxes plummet down to like $60, $70 consistently. It's happened ever since Wilderness. Bruh. Wilderness UFO got tanked. And Seance is probably heading that way too. I've already seen some sites selling them for $70. And I get it with the 50K print run. They're hoping that it's going to maintain a higher price. But there's just not enough in these boxes. I think the number one thing that hinders MetaZoo is the true random factor. And I love it. I love true random. In essence, it's wonderful. It's exciting. You have a chance of pulling every single hit inside of one single booster box. Unlike all these other games like Pokemon, Flesh and Blood, Magic, you don't have that odds. Your chance of pulling every single hit is impossible because there's a set amount of hits per box. And as soon as you hit that many hits, you basically know the rest of the box is dead. And that leads to people taking those packs, selling them online, and scamming people. It's not enjoyable in the slightest. But it helps maintain the value of the singles. With Pokemon, they print everything to the ground, so everything is still cheap as shit. But if MetaZoo were to do that, if they were to get rid of the true random factor, their cards would hold a lot higher value. And a lot of people, a lot of naysayers and haters don't really understand this concept. They think that the game is just crash and it's dying because the booster box prices are so low. But the reality is because you can pull so many of those hits in one single box. You have a chance of getting all full holos. You also can get the shit out of this that can get all reverse holos. But it's exciting. So I do love true random, but it's something we have to think about moving forward. Should MetaZoo continue it or should they get rid of it? Because right now it's definitely hindering them. And I'm not quite sure which one they should do. But I do think that they need to go back to this first edition, second edition, and third edition models that they originally preached about. Because right now, there's just too many boxes out there. Even at 50K, I think they should be printing maybe 30K tops of first edition. And then shortly after, put out a second edition print. Or do it at the same exact time. Either way, that way it could still get in the hands of players and then collectors still have their cards. Players have ones that are less valuable. It's a lot easier to get a hold of. And then collectors can get the stuff that's more rare. And of course, stores are going to hold back and stuff. So you try to control it, try to make sure that they don't do that stuff and try to manipulate the markets. It's very hard to do, but Mike does a pretty good job of that already. So I think he could be somewhat successful. But yes, I don't understand why we decided to scrap that model and just all first edition now. I really don't understand it. And you know he went gung-ho on this idea because back with Nightfall, he decided to add non-holo rares. And he did this because he decided to get rid of that second edition model. That's why we didn't get second edition with Nightfall and haven't gotten it with any other boxes since. They decided that they were going to put non-holo rares in these boxes. And I get it. It's for the players so they can get their hands on cards. But I was never a fan of this when they did it. Because in my opinion, it kills the excitement. If you keep pulling non-holo Mothmen, like in Nightfall, for instance, and then you finally pull a full holo, that excitement is not going to be as strong if you're just pulling other cards and all of a sudden a Mothman pops up and it's either a reverse or a full. If you keep seeing non-holo versions of it, it kills the excitement. And it also kills the value on the market. Even though they are two different things, there's still more of them out there, and it does lower that amount. It does lower the price. It might not be a huge amount, but it does lower it because there's just more and more of those out there. It's just not a good thing. But again, they justified it because they're like, we're not going to do second edition, so we're going to throw this in instead so people can get those harder to pull cards. And I don't agree with it. I think they need to get rid of those non-holo rares because they've done it every single set since. And I just don't think it's a good thing. I think it's hindering them completely. Because if you go on TCG Player right now, you can get singles for MetaZoo, even full holos for like a quarter, if not less. It's that bad. These boxes don't hold any value. And I love the fact that they have these big secret rare chasers in them, the 1 out of 100s, the 1 out of 10s. I love that fact. And I love that he changes it up with every single set. It keeps it exciting, keeps people on their toes, and it does entice people to open these boxes. But at the same time, the odds of pulling one of these things is so low that it gets to a point where people don't care anymore because otherwise they're just throwing their money out the window trying to chase these down and they have no chance to pull it. So as exciting as it is, and I think they need to stay, he should add some like 1 out of 5 booster box pulls, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 25. Just add a few more chasers in there that are harder to pull to kind of elevate these box prices, or at least to maintain them at a higher level. I still don't think they're ever going to sell at 140. That's just way too high. But like 100, 110, I think is totally reasonable, especially if you keep the print rates low and then you add some more of these chasers in there. I think just those two things can make a massive difference and give these boxes more value. I don't understand what their premise is. I get it. They focus on the more secondary products and the promotional products. Those always sell out because the print runs are so low, and that's what people want. But they need to add more value to the base sets. It doesn't look good from afar. This is why everybody says the game is dying and it's crashing. It's just not a good vibe. It doesn't feel good when you're buying the boxes because you lose all your value. It's just not good all the way around. And that's why I think MetaZoo needs to fix these things. They need to address it, regardless of what they think. Because right now, I think they're heading in the wrong direction. And I want them to address these things before they go ahead with other sets in the future. Because we're already into what, the fourth set now? Cryptid Nation, Nightfall, Wilderness UFO. No, Seance. Seance was the fifth set. So yeah, it's getting serious now. Like, we really need to lock down like what we're going to be doing moving forward. And if you're not seeing this already, then you need to open your eyes. I mean, clearly they are, because they did lower the print rate back to 50K, but it's not enough. And I'm telling you, it's not enough. Other people have been saying this. I mean, Rudy's been saying similar things, and some other content creators have been saying similar things. But that's why we need to have these discussions, because if we don't do it, then nothing is going to be done about it. And I don't want to see these boxes hit a point where they're dropping down in the $50, $40 range. I mean, you saw it with Wilderness. I thought once they announced that those gold tickets were going to give people shares for MetaZoo, that these boxes were going to go sky high through the roof. They went up a little bit, but then they plummeted right back down again because people don't really care, because the odds of pulling one of those is so low. It's cool that they're there. It's something to talk about. It's something to dream about. But there needs to be more in these boxes. I think they're doing a phenomenal job, but there's something missing in these boxes, and they need to address it before it's too late. They really do. And I really do think that they need to go back to the first, second, and third edition models that they originally preached about in the beginning, because it makes so much more sense to me. And I feel like it would help everybody out in the long term. Collectors would be more happy. Players would be more happy. The game would be surviving. I mean, it is surviving now, but I think it would be thriving, to be completely honest. It'd probably be growing at a faster rate. There wouldn't be so much hatred about it in the comment sections and discords and stuff, because so many people are saying that it's dying. Look at the cost of boxes. And I said the same thing about Flesh and Blood. But again, with Flesh and Blood, it's more like Pokemon. So, you know what I mean? You're only going to get so many hits in the boxes. So it's warranted. But with MetaZoo, it's like you pull so many of those hits that the value just drops. If it wasn't like that, the boxes would be a lot higher. They're just shooting themselves in the foot. And it doesn't make any sense.